everybody. Today I'm going to do a little bit of an experiment. I want to play with some reduction luster pigments. This is a technique from the Middle East that was developed in I think the 9th and 10th centuries. And they're called clay paste lusters a lot of the time because you mix up a clay paste made out of yellow ochre and kaolin, sometimes red ochre as well, and you use that as a carrier for a metal salt or a metal component that then fumes onto the surface of an already glazed pot to form like a lustrous and very, very, very thin decoration on the surface. I'm having a lot of trouble finding viable recipes and really good information for luster recipes, for reduction luster recipes, which is what this is, other than in really expensive books that are out of print. So I'm just going to go ahead and experiment. So I'm going to work by weight, and I'm going to do 1 part or 1/3 each silver carbonate, yellow ochre, and calcined kaolin in an attempt to make it stay on the surface and not crack off. So I think I'm going to do 2 grams of each first. This is my silver carbonate. I just bought this. Make sure you get it all over the place. There's 2 grams. I mean, this is not terribly accurate because it's only measuring in full gram increments, but we'll deal with it. Get a little bit more in there. I mean, okay, it just jumped up to 2, so that's always one of those things. I'm gonna get some yellow ochre in here, so that'll bring it up to 4. Take just a smidge out. Some Glomax. The reason I'm making such a small recipe is because the silver carbonate is quite expensive. This stuff is pretty fluffy, so I'm gonna... There we go. So I'll make do with what I have, but the silver carbonate is quite expensive. This is 4 ounces, or actually some of it had been used when I bought it. I bought it from a used chemical supply place. It was 3.5 ounces roughly, and I think it cost me $125 or so. So yeah, not cheap, not something you want to be wasteful with, but I don't want to say this is a lifetime supply, but I feel like that's a lot. So, all right, I've got my mixture here, and typically the way that I see this applied is I see it mixed dry, and then you kind of palette it out on a piece of glass or a piece of glass or a ceramic tile or something like that, and you apply it a bit like an underglaze decoration. So I'm going to make sure that's well mixed. Not really sure about the toxicity of silver carbonate, but I'm going to be careful regardless. We'll just dump all that out on there. And I'm going to get a paintbrush and a banding wheel set up here, and we'll do some luster decoration and see how things work out. All right, so I'm over here at the wheel. I decided to just move to the actual wheel than get out a banding wheel. I think it's probably just easier this way. And you'll have to excuse my terrible brushwork skills because I'm just really not very practiced with brushes. It hasn't really been part of my work. And so that's, I think, partially why I want to learn this, is I want to be better at brushwork decoration. So we'll just give it all a go. Um, I've got a Japanese calligraphy brush here, and I've got a like a flat fitch or like a sign painter's brush. And what I'm painting on is stoneware, already glazed stoneware. And so typically lusters are put on tin and lead glazed earthenware. Um, I don't happen to have any of that on hand, nor do I have any low fire tin and lead glazes. So I'm just using what I have, and who knows, maybe it'll work. And maybe I'll find out that I'm sorely mistaken and nothing works. So who knows? But so I'm getting some of this on my brush. I'll show you kind of what I'm doing here. I'm paletting out some of this luster onto the brush here. And I think like probably heavy cream consistency is maybe about, I don't know. Slightly pasty. I don't know what the right concentration is. So I think I'm going to try to do a band around the inside here. Like that. That seems maybe not thick enough. I don't know if it's bad to go back over it a second time. I really don't know much. So we'll try that. See if that kind of thickness works. I'd imagine the most important part of all of it is whether or not there's enough silver carbonate present to even produce the effect at all. Do that band down there. Get that a little bit more intense. I'm going to try using this Japanese brush and see if that looks any better for this particular activity. Oh, I like that a lot more. This is a little bit of a softer brush, and so it applies more pigment, I think. So I'm going to try to do... I saw Alan Kager Smith, who's a well-known lusterware potter, do a decoration on the inside of a piece that went something like this, which obviously far better than this. I'll do it in 3 segments. Like that. And maybe I'll do kind of like a slanted triangle kind of thing. Yeah, I don't know. Something like this. And then I'll do maybe this one this way. And then this is something I saw him do. Just to kind of break up the circle in the bottom of the bowl. and make it a little bit less formal by doing little bits like this, which in comparison to Alan Kigger-Smith's work, this is practically a travesty. But yeah, I think the Japanese brush really does apply this pigment a lot better, it seems. I don't know if it's just the glaze that I'm working on top of or what. Or maybe perhaps this luster needs a little bit of a thickener in it. Or maybe even just needs to be made up a little bit pastier. Let me see if I can add some more dry material to it to get it a little bit thicker. Since this is all just a test, I'm just going to do a straight vertical line. That. Alright, well, we'll see what that does. So this is on top of Tomoku. I'm going to kind of do the same thing, different design, but apply try to just freehand something in here like that. Let's see if that does anything interesting. And I think with this one, I'm going to go about it rather sleekly, and I'm just going to do one line down the middle like that. Then I'll do one curved one off to the side like this. Maybe a dot. Who knows? I think I'm gonna turn the camera off. I'll do like maybe 2 more pots, 1 more pot, and then I'll load them into the kiln and we'll get firing. Alright, so I have those 4 pots loaded into the kiln, and I've done the following. There you can see a hole in the side of the kiln. That's that peep down there, that's that bottom peep. And so this area underneath here is accessible from that peephole. And I'm going to shove little pieces of wood in through that peephole to get periods of reduction in the kiln, which is necessary for the luster glazes to develop. I've got another peephole right here. I'm going to put a self-supporting cone 021 right there, which is the temperature we're looking to reach. And I'm going to do, just off the top of my head, I'm going to do 10 cycles of reduction once we reach, or on the way up to temperature. So we'll see how this goes. I've never done this before. I haven't the slightest clue what I'm doing, but I'm going to try it anyway. Alright, so I've made some kindling that will fit through that peephole. And so you might ask, why won't I just be reducing these lusters using the burner flame? And, well, my response to that is, that may work. I don't know. I just have a suspicion that at this low of a temperature, the kiln won't really have achieved enough reduction. So low a temperature, adding any more gas would spike the temperature and possibly overfire the luster without really even contributing to the reduction. Even if I completely closed the flue, I'm not sure I would really get much reduction. That's another concern I have with the wood, is every time I add wood, the temperature is going to spike in such a small kiln, and I'm not sure I will be able to get a luster firing without overfiring everything due to that heat. So I'm going to go ahead and start stoking for reduction as soon as the wood starts to combust, so maybe 500 or 600 degrees, and actually start using the wood to raise the temperature of the kiln too. That way I'll at least have achieved some reduction by the wood by the time the cone falls. So we'll see what happens. Again, I've never done this before, so yeah, wish. Alrighty, so it's probably about half hour after I started the kiln. The kiln's at a couple hundred degrees, maybe 400 degrees, probably about 400 degrees. I just put some wood in through the peephole and a little bit in the burner ports, and it's not catching fire immediately, but it is kind of sitting there and blackening and smoldering. So I think that we're getting close to the time where I can start doing that kind of thing. It's not really producing any smoke yet, but I can definitely smell it. So it won't be long now until I can start stoking with wood. Right, I have changed tactics a little bit. I'm going to try and see if I can actually just wood fire this kiln to temperature, feeding wood in through the burner ports. I don't know how well that will work, but I think it may allow me to achieve a better reduction than having the gas flames in there as well. Alrighty, I am in the middle of the luster firing, and I'm encountering some difficulty. Mainly that I cannot for the life of me see the cone that's in there. No matter how hard I look through this peephole here, I cannot see whether the cone is up or down. I know that I have really good reduction because there's pretty massive amounts of smoke coming out of it. It doesn't show up nearly as well on camera as it does in real life. There's really a good bit of smoke. So I'm just going to keep adding sticks, little pieces of cedar fence picket and whatnot into the burner ports, and I might have to soon just crack the lid a little bit or something like that to take a look at the cone, because I can't see it for the life of me. So that's kind of how things are going right. Alright, I think it's about 2.5 hours into the firing, and I am reducing heavily. You can see the smoke belching out of the chimney there. The little side stoke port that I have set up there is working now too. It's a high enough temperature that wood has started to burn. I knocked over both bag walls in the gas kiln to make a little more room for wood. Thankfully the shelves didn't fall while I did that. And I can see now when I look in the top there that there's like a nice dark red smoky flame that's all throughout the whole kiln. So I think that's probably a good thing. I can't see the cone from outside, but I've been periodically just really quickly lifting the lid to see what's going on, and the cone is not down yet. So as soon as it falls, I'll probably do one more heavy reduction and then shut it all down. Alrighty, so the cone has just fallen, and I'm going to let this just burn back a little bit, and then I'm going to shut it all down while it's still smoky, because I want to make sure that it doesn't oxidize as it cools. I'm going to shut this down, and we'll see what we have when I open it. It'll be interesting, whatever it is. Alright, so here's the kiln all shut down. All the burner ports are blocked off, all the peepholes are shut, and it'll probably sit here and smoke for a good while longer until the coals burn down, and we'll probably be able to unload it tomorrow. Hi everybody, it's the day after the luster firing, and I just wanted to review some pots here. So I'll start with the failures. This is that one bowl with the Val Cushing glaze on it, the yellow mat. And yeah, not all that much you can see. There's a little bit, you can see some very slight color variation from where the luster was, but it really didn't show up too well on that matte surface. So altogether, not super impressive. This is the first one I pulled out, and granted, this is after buffing off the yellow ochre and the kaolin off the top. And yeah, I mean, it left something behind. I don't know if it's luster, but there's definitely a kind of staining of the surface. You can't rub it off. It doesn't wash off, which is nice. I like, hold on, it's on the other side here. I like what happened there, where the luster went onto the rim. There's kind of like a little pearlescent, opalescent spot there. That might be something to watch out for in the future. But altogether, not super impressive. I'd like to get a little bit more silver carbonate involved in the future. This one here, the Temuku one, better. That is, if you look at it in person, it is silver, um, and the design showed up everywhere, but it's really, really, really thin. So I think I just need to get more silver carbonate into that recipe or apply it thicker in general. Um, but yeah, it's kind of interesting. More successful than I was thinking would probably happen. So I mean, hey, something happened at all, and that's not bad for a first try. And then I think the crowning achievement of the firing, um, and I don't have any clue why this worked better than the other ones. It might be related to the copper in the glaze, but this one I'm actually really, really happy with. I've got some real luster effect going on here. It's in some places it's a gray silver, and other places it's a really pleasing yellow luster, which goes really nicely against the red background. So, and I think this is the one that I actually applied the thickest, and so I'm really quite happy with the one. That's actually one I'm going to keep. Not too shabby for a first try. So, yeah, I think that this technique is promising. I think probably what I'm going to work on fixing in the future is I'm going to make a more concentrated luster pigment that has more silver carbonate in it, and I'm going to apply it thicker, maybe even do 2 layers, and I will also reduce more strongly in the kiln. And between those 3 changes, I think I'll probably be able to achieve more of a result like this more often. So yeah, that's the plan for the future. I hope that this was as interesting and informative for you watching as it was for me to learn. And yeah, I'll see you folks next week. Bye.